So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this 3GPP update on SA. Here I have Georg Mayer, the SA chair. Welcome. Today we'll be looking most of all the SA plenary 92E. Go ahead, Georg.
Yeah, thank you, Tero. Thank you, everybody, for having me. Yeah, we had our plenary meeting last week. So we'll go quickly to what we did at the plenary, but then more important is the planning for the next half year when we look into practically the planning for the start of release 18. So what we did in this June plenary now was we officially froze the SA2 and SA6 stage 2 for release 17. And that means that there will be for sure no new features allowed anymore into release 17. And it also means that all the issues that we will be now working on in the upcoming months on release 17, they have to be covered by exception sheets. So we agreed on many of the issues for release 17 exception sheets, and those will be worked on in the next 3 months. But it's also obvious, and I don't want to hide anything there, that there's a lot of issues still open that have a dependency with RAN. RAN has a bit of a different schedule. So we will also see release 17 work continuing into Q4 most likely. So this is the reality we have to prepare. And I think that's honestly business as usual. It's a bit more tight at the moment because of the e-meeting situation, but in general this is a way of working we are used to. And also CT will start the work on release 17 now. They already started, but they will go obviously into more detail, and they have 9 months from now on to complete their work on release 17. So there we are on schedule. If there are some problems still, then we will most likely see them in September, and then we can also discuss them further. But for the moment, things like look on track. But then we go to release 18. You know, release 18 is practically at the threshold now, and we'll start working technically on it. It's also the first release in what we now call 5G Advanced. So sort of the next half step to the next generation from 5G to 6G. So this is what we usually do. We also had in 4G or LTE, we had LTE Advanced, and now we have 5G Advanced. And that shows a bit 5G has stabilized, is in the market. We know what's the outset of it. And now we can detail some of the more specific issues. Obviously, we'll go on working on detailing or also improving, enhancing the base system. So how will we tackle that? So first of all, RAN will have a workshop next week for the RAN specific release 18 issues. I will not go into detail of that, but we will also have before the September plenary, the Thursday and Friday before the September plenary, SA will have a workshop, and this workshop will be a purely informative one, so we will not take any decisions there, but we think it's really necessary that people can present their views on release 18. So companies or groups of companies are invited to bring presentations there and show their view or their needs for release 18, obviously based on the discussions that already took place in SA1, in RAN, and so on. So, and I just want to emphasize that this would really be now for companies that are already on the fence and thinking, should I get active in 3GPP or not? I mean, this is the perfect time to start now, and where we would really highly appreciate new input, and also would be happy, or where it's much easier for us to listen to you, because we are really starting this new release. The idea here is that every company has about 10 minutes to present. Not all the companies will present, obviously, and it would be preferred that groups of companies get together and have one presentation. So if from the mission critical community, there would be 1 or 2 presentations, I think this would be really, really helpful for us to understand better how we have to shape release 18 and what your priorities are. But I also would like to encourage you, as I usually always do, to not only work amongst the circle that you are anyhow familiar with, but also have a look into the requirements from the other verticals, like the automotives, like the factories, healthcare, and so on, because we know already there are overlaps, there are functionalities that several verticals or several companies need to have established. Just think back of ProC in release 17, or also the broadcast multicast functionality that we introduced. So the issue here is really the more commonalities we find, the more likely it is that we can bring them into release 18. Now, the truth of the matter is we saw already a long list of release 18 items in SA2, proposed items. And if we are realistic and look at them, we know they don't fit into the timeline. We don't know the timeline yet. We will discuss it, but regardless of how long the timeline is, 30 items will not fit in. So they need to be consolidated, and we see that there's a need for prioritization. And this prioritization effort will start in September by bringing up a list of items that that are candidates for release 18. So that doesn't mean that they are in, it just means this is sort of the wish list. And then we will find a mode of prioritizing them over the next 3 months. How this exactly works very much depends on how far we progress the release 18 work until September. And I don't want to make any predictions about the actual process at this moment. I think we need to be flexible in September to find the right mode. So the next thing then will be in December. In December, we will finalize the release 18 timeline and also the release 18 content. So that is practically where we say, this is the release, this is what we're going to work on for the next 12, 15, 18 months, whatever the timeline will be. And for that, we need, as I said, the prioritization. For that, we also will have most likely another workshop in front of the December plenary. Now, all these things SA will not do on its own. We need strong coordination with RAN and CT. So we will have a joint session with RAN and CT already in September, where there's a certain likelihood we would already agree on the timeline, like the length of the release. That might be necessary to better understand what really can fit in. There were already some discussions in RAN on that. I don't want to jump ahead any conclusions, but I think from the discussions compared to release 17, it seems most of the companies today are sort of agreeing already on a sort of time horizon. So that sounds promising, let's say it that way. Yeah, but all of this will be then finalized together with RAN and CT in the December plenary. So this is sort of the roadmap for the next half year, where we plan this release 18, first release of 5G Advanced, and where it's really, I want to say this again, where it would be really appreciated that all the companies take an open mind on the discussion, show in honesty their visions for this release, maybe also beyond this release, if certain things are only a step on the way, that's all fine. But also, most of all, especially in Q4, what we will need is the openness to find consensus, and that the discussions are practically then going into a way where people say, okay, I can step back from some of my requirements and let others go ahead as long as I get a certain amount of mine fulfilled. And that will be the complicated discussions during Q4, I guess. So yeah, there's a lot to do. And still, again, there's still a lot to do for release 17, and this will go on in parallel. So far, as I said, we are on track and we're looking hopeful into the future. Another thing, one last thing that I want to add is about the e-meetings. So for this year, it's pretty clear we will not have any face-to-face meetings anymore. So the plan for the whole remainder of 2021 is to go with e-meetings. For 2022, we are hopeful that we can go back rather early into face-to-face mode. How exactly that will happen is a decision that most likely will be taken by PCG in October. And obviously, this will also be a decision dependent on how the global situation with the pandemic turns out in, let's say, September, October, November. So whether we can take the risk of having face-to-face meetings again. So all I can say here is the leadership and the hosts, we are in constant communication. There's a lot of discussions going on. And I know that people are very eager to go back to face-to-face meetings. I just have to ask for your patience. And we try to do this in the best possible manner, also in a manner that when we hold face-to-face meetings again, that everybody can attend and we have a fair setting. So it will take a bit more time, but this issue is one of the most important we are currently discussing. Good. So I hope to see your input into the essay workshop, obviously also into the round workshop. And I look forward to work with you over the next half year and also beyond that, obviously, to shape a good and useful release 18 for 3GPP and for all the verticals, including the mission critical community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georg. Very good information, and well, you mentioned that obviously the rest of the year remains e-meeting. So is the silver lining that now also those that didn't happen to have travel budget to participate to the release 18 planning workshop can actually do it online as long as they register?
Yeah, if you yes, that's a silver lining. That's an advantage. I mean, we see obviously this situation has a lot of downsides, but it also has some advantages. And we see that more people are involved in our discussions, which I personally think is a very good thing, because in the end, the products or the standards that we develop will have to serve you all. And only in that way, 5G or 5G advanced will be something useful in the market. So I think this is good. But if you, I mean, we see more and more that also this is why we have this workshop, for example, people lacking direct communication. People like the discussion, you will see when we have like 5 or 6 presentations on similar issues for release 18, in former days, people would have just gone out of the room, sit together and said, okay, this is our common proposal. And it would be very easy. They would just have do this over dinner. Nowadays, this is not so easy anymore. You need to organize conferences, you're sitting far remote and so on. So especially for the planning of the release, I would say this is still a new challenge we have. And I'm sure we master it. There's no issue with that, but we need to find a few more tools. The workshop is one of them, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I still quite, it will remain to be seen how you manage to lead the planning workshop, as even face-to-face planning workshops have been really tough job to do. So I don't envy you at all on that. At the same time, for the entire community, there's this unique possibility to be there and learn what the other verticals and what other stakeholders, what they find important. And at the same time, it gives us the opportunity to imagine what could we do with those capabilities the others are asking for, what our community could get out of those, and vice versa. So let's utilize this possibility as well. Register to the workshop, and then throughout the fourth quarter, make sure that we cooperate sufficiently with others, make our points clear, and absolutely we will bring our own input also to the workshop to share to other parties that what we find important, what is it that we would need to make the society safer. And so far there has been a lot of understanding on this, but we need to be reasonable and understand that everyone needs to get the living, otherwise there is no 3GPP. So with these things, I'd like to thank you, Georg. Do you have any further comments you'd like to make or encouragements for us for the coming months?
Well, I agree with you. It will be challenging, but not only for me, it will be challenging for all of us. So I wish you all strength for that, but I also think it's very entertaining. And as you said, we all can learn a lot during that phase. Usually this is the phase where we learn a lot about the competitors or the colleagues in the room, and this is really valuable. So also please look at it like that, that it's not only about pushing through one's opinion or one's view, but also to gain a really good understanding of what is really at the table. So thank you for having me, and thanks for the opportunity.
So everyone, write down into your professional competence development calendars these events here, participate in the e-meetings as you don't need to travel, and ask for budget for next year for the face-to-face meetings. Okay. So thank you, Georg. Talk to you again in more in the September time, and for all the audience, enjoy the summer and be ready for the discussions in September. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice summer.